let's start, if we can, with your particular area of responsibility for mental health. This obviously, and again, it's a very big issue for an awful lot of people right now with the lockdown, and we'll come to that. But this is you're announcing a major package of reforms set out in your Reforming the Mental Health Act white paper. What are the key recommendations that are going to change people's lives who are affected by this legislation?
Gosh, there are so many, Julia, but let me tell you about the spirit of the Act, which is about empowering people and giving people back their dignity. So the old Mental Health Act, which is very old indeed, doesn't do, what it does is it creates prejudice and disparity. So I'll give you an example. If you're a young woman who has a recurrent mental illness and you are detained at various times in your life, the person who has responsibility for you and your next of kin, if you like, or the person who gets to decide on your, help decide on your treatment, is either your father or the next male relative in your family. Obviously, the old Act was drawn up a very long time ago, but it's, so what we're doing is we're empowering patients for them to decide who it is. They can nominate who it is, that should they be incapacitated at one of the most vulnerable stages of their lives during a mental illness breakdown or reoccurrence of an episode, that they can nominate in advance who it is who gets to decide and to be jointly responsible for their treatment. And also we give them more power over what treatment they're given, what medication they can take or not take. So, you know, there are patients who don't like various medications and don't want to be on certain medications. They will now have the ability to decide with a plan before they become ill what medications they do and don't want to take.
Okay, so giving people a lot more control over their lives when they are able to have that control, and that's going to be a very big issue. Because we've seen some very big issues with people having, you know, so many of their basic human rights taken away from them when they are suffering from mental illness. Can I ask you, as the Minister with responsibility in this area, have you been concerned about the mental health effects of lockdowns and indeed of the COVID pandemic itself? A report today showing that we've seen even those staff working in ICU, almost half of ICU staff. This was a survey carried out, and a study has just been published, but the survey was carried out in June and July last year, very soon after the height of the pandemic. Half of ICU staff turning to alcohol, 1 in 8 having suicidal thoughts, and very anxious and depressed about what was going on. Are you concerned also for the wider society with the pressures of lockdown, the isolation that people are experiencing?
Well, you won't be surprised to know we've been keeping a very close eye on this, and we do need to be careful about the language we use around mental health, suicides, and the impacts. But yes, we have seen two particular. Well, first of all, to address the point about critical care staff, ICU staff, they have. They found themselves in a situation that they were never trained for, that to work 12-hour shifts in full PPE, to lose young patients, to lose patients as quickly as they were doing, to have such a rapid turnaround in ICU of patients coming in and losing those patients, and also the emotional journeys that they went on with families too. So it was particularly very, very difficult for ICU staff. And, you know, I hope we all appreciate what they've done over the past 10 months.
Oh, absolutely.
In terms of the wider public, so the two particular groups we know have been impacted. So what we do know is that some people at the beginning of the first lockdown, obviously they felt apprehensive, they were scared of the unknown, they were worried about many things, jobs, money, what was going to happen in the future. Most people have reported that as the first lockdown went on, they adjusted and they came through that. And we as a government have put a huge amount of assistance in place to help those people, not least with Every Mind Matters, but with the money that's been given to the third sector, the charitable sector, to assist. But I won't go into numbers, but we've done, government has certainly made sure that those people had the help that they required. But there are two groups that have been affected: young women, particularly young women suffering from eating disorders, and those people who had pre-existing serious mental health illness. And there's a difference actually between mental health and mental illness. but people who had mental illness, they have been impacted also. And they're the two groups which we are, doing everything in our power to support and put our arms around and help carry them through this second wave.
Okay.
So in terms of, lots of people have talked about, the numbers of suicides are shooting up and some really irresponsible rhetoric around that. That is not the case. In fact, the most comprehensive real-time data study that we've had on suicide show no increase at all in the rate of suicides. But we do know that there are two particular groups that have felt the impact of both lockdowns.
Okay. Can we also talk about what's going on right now in terms of vaccine rollout? That's the big hope for everybody, to actually get us back to some semblance of normal life as soon as possible. There's been some talk about vaccine passports, people needing to have vaccine passports. Nadine Dorries, one of your colleagues, has said that's not going to be the case. But rolling out the vaccine to people who want it should be the priority. Some GPs are saying, according to the front of the Daily Telegraph today, that they've been told they can't get the supplies of vaccine to hand out because, frankly, they've done too good a job, and other areas are running behind, and they're going to have to wait until those areas catch up. Is that really the best way to roll out this vaccine?
Julia, I'm sure that you know that the vaccine itself has to be biologically produced, go into glass vials, go through some very rigorous safety checks. And it is, as fast as the supply can come through, we will get it into people's arms. I'm very sure that there were GP practices who knew they were going to get their supply of vaccine, who are absolutely, and my mum's practice was one of them actually, that absolutely got everybody through and got everybody vaccinated with the first lot that they received. And now they're waiting for their next supply to come through. Yeah. More supply will come out. I mean, really, we're victims of our own I don't want to use the word success, but as soon as we were there and ready, the government was ready, as soon as the vaccine was available and as soon as we could get it out, we did so. Now the issue is keeping that supply rolling through, and that's what's happening. And as each day moves on, 2.6 million people today have been vaccinated so far. And, I'm sure you've discussed on your programme how that compares to the rest of the world. But 2.6 million people. And the supply is continuing to come through. And as it comes through, we will get it out there and we will get it in people's arms.
Absolutely. There's no use if it's not in the arms. Finally, must ask you also about these food vouchers, these food parcels. Marcus Rashford, the wonderful young man, Premier League footballer who raised this issue to make sure that children who would normally get a free school meal would actually get the access to a nutritious meal during holidays and also now during lockdown. We've seen some of these pictures on the internet, like £5 worth of really quite poor quality food given out in food parcels when it should be £15. Is there an inquiry in government right now about what's been going on there, and what are your thoughts when you saw some of those food parcels?
So I spent most of my school life on free school meals. I was a green ticket kid, so I feel this issue quite strongly, and I was incredibly shocked when I saw that package. And I know that the government's response has been swift and thorough, and that those packages are being looked at right now, and measures are being put in place to deal with the problem. So I know that's happening right now. And I think everybody was quite shocked to see what we want is for food to be supplied to mothers to be able to provide, or fathers to be able to provide 5 days of school lunches for their children. That was not available in that box. I think we admit that, we know that, and we have put very robust measures in place to ensure that the providers sort that situation out.
Nadine Dorries, I know that bleep noise was your next meeting. Nadine Dorries, MP, Health Minister, really appreciate you joining us